My sister and I saved a shabby old man. He took out two special talismans for us to choose from. My sister quickly picked the Wealth God Talisman, leaving the Exam God Talisman for me. With the power of the Wealth God Talisman, my sister won numerous prizes big and small within a year, with the divine blessing of the Exam God. I aced the college entrance exam as the provincial top scorer and got admitted to Tsinghua University. The one-year spell has expired, after losing the God of Wealth's favor. My sister's financial illiteracy and extravagant lifestyle quickly plunged her into destitution. Knowing the exam god's blessing was temporary, I maintained relentless dedication to my studies. Knowledge earned through hard work never expires. I won the National Science and Technology Award, co-founded the Myth Group with a business prodigy, and became the wealthiest person with a net worth exceeding hundreds of billions. Consumed by resentment, my younger sister stabbed me to death at a family gathering. 1. I choose divine exam luck. My sister's shrill, excited voice snapped me out of my daze. I watched as she swiftly snatched the exam deity blessing talisman. That's when I knew she had been reborn. I had been reborn too. In our previous life, she was the one who eagerly snatched the wealth god's blessing and sneered at me. Ha, what's the point of all that studying if not for money? Keep being that bookworm, sis, and settle for that fixed salary in the future. I love studying. Having the exam god's blessing is like adding wings to a tiger. Exactly what I wanted. I gladly accepted this talisman. Sis, this time it's my turn to become the top scorer in the Gaokao, get into Tsinghua, become a world-renowned scientist, marry Marlowe, create an Eastern legend, and turn into the richest person. Just you wait. Enjoy your one good year before you end up destitute. My sister clutched her exam God-blessed talisman tightly, turning to me with a triumphant look. I took the fortune God-blessed talisman from the old man and said to my sister with a smile, "Well then, I wish you a bright future ahead, too." After getting the fortune God talisman, I glanced at the measly 50 yuan allowance in my backpack. After a moment's thought, I went to a scratch-off lottery station and spent 20 yuan on 10 tickets. I didn't hit the jackpot, but I did scratch off a 50,000 yuan prize and cashed it in right away. With that 50,000 yuan, I went to different lottery outlets and spent 10,000 on over a dozen different types of 100x compound lottery tickets, waiting for tonight's draw. After buying the lottery tickets, I went to get a phone, computer, headphones, and other gadgets I don't currently own. Then, I treated myself to a nice hot pot meal at Heideleo. In my past life, I was so absorbed in studying and research that I often forgot to eat, which led to my gastritis developing into stomach cancer. As a result, I could eat very little. I have so much money that I could buy every Heideleo hot pot restaurant, every barbecue joint, and every skewer stall in the world, but my stomach won't let me enjoy a single meal of hot pot, barbecue, or skewers. After happily finishing my hot pot meal, I booked a king room at a 5-star hotel. In my previous life, I spent 2 million on a Hason's mattress for better sleep, placing it in my spacious 60 square meter bedroom. Yet, insomnia persisted. Fearful of dulling my mind and hindering research breakthroughs, I avoided sleeping pills, enduring sleepless nights in helpless agony until dawn. Now, I've finally reclaimed my natural sleep rhythm. I lay down in bed and fell asleep instantly. I woke up to find that 15 hours had passed. I grabbed my phone and checked the lottery results. After carefully checking, I'd only won 5 million in total, not exactly the life-changing jackpot. Without divine financial luck, most people could buy lottery tickets their entire lives and never win more than 10,000 bucks. I immediately went to the lottery center to claim my prize, but after the 20% tax deduction, only 2 million remained. Unlike my airhead sister who doesn't understand how money breeds money, she lost everything and ended up destitute the moment the charm's magic wore off. I've done scientific research and run companies. Reborn into this life, the memories from my previous existence remained intact. Wealth is transient. What you have today may be gone tomorrow. Only the knowledge and skills you earn through hard work stay with you for life, beyond anyone's reach. I booted up my computer, opened a securities account, and identified Eastern Technology, a stock legendary in my previous life for its market miracles. Right now is the initial offering period for this startup stock, and it's at its lowest price point. From what I recall, in just 1 week this stock will soar like an Eastern dragon taking flight. It'll skyrocket from its current price of $1 per share to over $300 per share within 6 months. This is currently the fastest way I know to make money work for me. I put all 2 million into stocks, hoping for a 300-fold return on my investment. 3. My sister, blessed with the gift of test-taking, didn't keep studying hard like I did in my previous life. Instead, she became even lazier. Every day in class, she either slept or read magazines, and she never did her homework. The teacher couldn't help but scold her, but she retorted dismissively, "I'm naturally brilliant. I don't need to cram like this. Just wait until the college entrance exams. I'll be the top scorer in the province and prove it to you." The teacher saw her delusional fantasies and gave up on her, no longer paying her any attention. I still studied very hard, even though I was the top scorer in the province in my previous life and went all the way to a postdoc at Tsinghua. I still didn't dare to take the college entrance exams lightly. However, in this life, my goal isn't to get into Tsinghua. And I have even less desire to follow the same path as my previous life, since fate has given me a second chance. Retreading the same path holds no appeal. Besides, in this lifetime, there's no way I want to run into Marlowe again. The union between a tech prodigy and a business kid appeared to be a storybook perfect match. Yet no one knows that every step I take feels like walking barefoot on sharp blades, agonizing and bloody. Yet I must face the world with a smile, for my sister seems blessed by the god of exams. Despite her laziness and lack of studying, she aces every test, always scoring 1 point higher than me to claim the top spot in the entire school. Overnight, she transformed from an academic struggler into a genius girl persona, showered with praise from teachers and classmates alike. My sister became so proud she practically held her nose up to the sky. Every time she saw me buried in my books, she'd sneer, "Sis, no matter how hard you try, you'll never measure up to me. You should just quit studying and use that lucky charm of yours to buy lottery tickets instead. Live it up for a year, then wait for poverty to knock on your door." I paid no attention to her. My stocks had already surged 100-fold, with my account balance exceeding 100 million. I have no interest in a lavish lifestyle. I just want to enjoy my 3 meals a day and sleep soundly at night. As for the lottery, I won't be buying tickets anymore. I'll leave the winning chances to other players. 5 day by day passed, and the college entrance exam drew nearer. I quickly sold my shares in Eastern Technology when the stock price hit 300 yuan per share. The account balance accumulated to over 400 million. Of course, I wasn't going to let it sit idle. Relying on my memory, I invested in several promising stocks separately, allowing the money to keep generating more returns. With her fresh, beautiful looks and the persona of a prodigious young girl, my sister quickly gained popularity online. She started her own social media account and began accepting endorsements for various products. This also allowed her to accumulate a fortune of around 2 million. She failed to learn from her past life's mistakes, splurging on luxuries whenever she had money without ever considering how to make it grow. "Sis, guess who I'm dating online?" My sister strutted into my room with a smug look on her face, while crunching research data. I didn't even bother looking up and casually replied, "No idea. And I'm not interested either." Just wait till you hear his name, you'll be interested. He's called Marlowe, the prodigy of the business world. My sister looked at me with keen interest as she spoke. "Everything you gained in your past life will be mine this time." How delightful. I pretended not to understand her and said flatly, "I have no idea what you're talking about with past lives. I don't remember any previous life. Must have drunk the Lethe River potion. You didn't get reborn." My sister looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Reincarnation? Have you been reading too many novels? Have you lost your mind?" I deliberately furrowed my brow and reached up to feel her forehead. My sister pushed my hand away, patted me on the shoulder, and said with disappointment, "Oh well, that's a letdown. I was looking forward to making you watch as I take everything from your past life, including Marlowe, but it doesn't matter. This time around, there's no way you can compete with me. Tsinghua is mine, Marlowe is mine, and being a billionaire CEO is mine too. As your sister, I'm giving you some well-meaning advice. Go buy a few more lottery tickets, win some prizes, and save up some money. That way you won't end up penniless and destitute in the future." "Oh, thanks." My indifferent attitude left her feeling awkward. She slammed the door and left in a huff. I set down my book, twirled the pen between my fingers, and gazed out the window. The world outside the window was sunless and gloomy. My heart felt as heavy as if weighed down by those dark clouds. After a moment of reflection, I decided to let go of the hatred from my past life, the memory of my sister stabbing me to death, and rose to knock on her door. My sister was happily video chatting with someone. When I saw Marlowe's familiar face on the phone screen, I shuddered slightly and left the room. But she wouldn't let me off that easily. She got up from her chair, came to the doorway, and grabbed me by the arm. The phone's camera was now pointed right at my face, framed by thick black glasses and dotted with pimples. She quickly switched from beauty mode to the original camera, cooing, "Marlowe, let me introduce you to my sister. Isn't she pretty?" Looking at Marlowe on the screen, I felt a wave of revulsion. I pushed the phone away and walked out. Whatever. Let people live with the consequences of their own choices. It's my sister's decision to make. She'll have to face the outcome herself. I'm done getting involved. "Marlowe, what do you think of my sister?" My sister didn't let me off the hook and came to my room to continue her video call with Marlowe. "Not much." Marlowe's response instantly lit up my sister's face. She shot me a smug look. "Sis, Marlowe said you're nothing special." I nodded in agreement. "Yeah, not as good as you." Disappointed that she didn't see any envy or jealousy from me, My sister turned to the video call and said, "My sister does have one good quality, she knows her place, she understands she can't measure up to me, whether it's academics or looks," Marlo said. "Indeed, she can't compare to you. There are only a few geniuses in this world," my sister continued gleefully. "Exactly, and we're two of them. The world will be ours. When that time comes, my sister won't even be fit to work for me." Haha, hearing her triumphant and infectious laughter, I chuckled, nudged her out of the room, and locked the door behind me to keep her from disturbing me again. 6. A new friend request popped up on WeChat. Seeing that familiar profile picture and username, my blood ran cold and my fingers turned icy. Marlo, why would Marlo add me on WeChat? I only registered this WeChat account after getting a new phone following my rebirth. I haven't even told my family members. Not even my younger sister. How did Marlo even find this WeChat account to add me in this lifetime? I don't want the slightest connection with him. I hit decline and blocked him to avoid getting annoyed by any more friend requests. Moments later, another friend request appeared. "Hi sis, I'm Marlo, your sister's friend." He actually used a different WeChat account to try adding me again. Seeing this new request made my blood boil even more. In my previous life, I discovered his secret WeChat account. Sneaking a peek at it completely shattered my perception of reality in everyone's eyes. Marlo came from a good family, tall, handsome, refined, and a business prodigy admired by countless women. There's even a popular song online called "Marry a Man Like Marlo," and as his wife, I naturally became the object of both envy and jealousy. They completely ignored that I'm a recipient of the National Top Science Award, disregarded all my efforts, and only saw me as Marlo's wife. Only I know that being Marlo's wife isn't happy at all, it's actually miserable. So much so that I wouldn't want anything to do with him for all eternity, so why does he still cling to me like a haunting shadow? Can you just leave me alone? 7. To avoid getting friend requests from Marlo, I just deleted my WeChat account altogether. 8. Sis, tomorrow's May 20th, Marlo is coming to see me. My little sister came running into my room again to gloat. He said he's going to give me an unforgettable romantic 520. I'm so excited, I responded with a cold "Oh, my sister." Unhappy with my indifferent reaction, grabbed my shoulders and demanded, "Are you jealous of me?" I looked at her with amusement. "If that's what you want to think, I can't stop you, but please don't flaunt your boyfriend in front of me anymore. The more you show off, the more interested I might become in him, and that wouldn't be good." My sister's face froze, her eyes widening in anger. "Sis, I'm warning you, don't covet what isn't yours. Besides, Marlo looks down on you anyway." I nodded in agreement. He clearly thinks highly of you and has a soft spot for you. Hope you two stay locked together forever," my sister said with utter conviction. "Absolutely, in this lifetime. I'm going to become the envy of everyone with him as our legendary power couple. We'll build the myth group together. You just keep burying yourself in books. Maybe then, out of sisterly pity, I'll throw you a decent job so you can live comfortably instead of wallowing in poverty." Who gave her the audacity to think I'd follow the same path she did in her previous life, even if she were blessed with the god of exams for life? She still couldn't walk the path I carved in my past life. Research isn't like an exam, you can't just grasp it all at once. 9. I never expected my sister would actually bring Marlo home. Coming back from school, I pushed open the door and stumbled back in shock when I saw Marlo there. "Hello, Iris, how are you?" Marlo flashed his signature grin and gave me a wave. Most girls would feel their hearts flutter and see little hearts in their eyes when they see him like that. My heart was racing too, but it was out of fear. "Who are you? How dare you barge into my room like this?" I pretended not to know him, my face stern as I demanded sharply. "Marlo, your future husband." Marlo rose to his feet with a sinister chuckle, like a venomous snake lurking in the shadows. A chill ran down my spine. So it wasn't just my sister and I who were reborn, he was too. No wonder he knew about my WeChat. I forced myself to stay calm, putting on an incredulous expression as I snapped, "Marlo, your girlfriend is my sister Opal, not me. I have enough integrity not to steal my own sister's boyfriend. Get out of my room now. This is my private sanctuary." "Iris, stop pretending. I know you've been reborn too. Otherwise, you'd never be able to use this formula." Marlo picked up the draft paper from my desk and declared with absolute certainty. My expression faltered for a moment, but I quickly composed myself and asked skeptically, "I've already studied advanced college math. Isn't it normal for me to know a bit of calculus?" Marlo was a humanities major who never had to take math courses in college, so he knew virtually nothing about university-level mathematics. He couldn't even tell whether my formula was calculus or research data. Smack. My sister had come over at some point and slapped me across the face in a rage, her eyes bloodshot as she screamed hysterically, "How could you steal my boyfriend? What a pair of lunatics." I slapped her backhanded in annoyance. Not everyone thinks shit smells like roses. Get your boyfriend out of my room. Shit, you actually called Marlo shit, Iris, you're just sour grapes. My sister scowled and dragged Marlo away. Marlo, my sister's crazy, just ignore her. Ugh, as Marlo passed by me, I spat on him with the contempt I'd been holding for 2 lifetimes. You're insane. Marlo wiped the spit off his face angrily, cursed under his breath, and followed my sister out of my room. I slammed the door shut with a bang and locked it. My body went limp and collapsed to the floor, my heart racing, breath coming in ragged gasps. I could barely catch my breath. Marlo, that devil. 10. Marlo, after you left, my foolish little sister was bragging to me again, showing off Marlo's gift of a blue diamond ring. Just seeing that blue diamond ring makes me sick to my stomach all over again. In my previous life, Marlo also gave me this blue diamond ring and forbade me from taking it off every time I laid eyes on that ring. I felt the urge to chop my own finger off, but I don't dare. I simply can't fight against the demonic Marlo, so I have no choice but to bear it like a shackle. This diamond ring is worth at least $1 million. The fact that Marlo gave it to me so generously shows how much he values me and that he wants to marry me. My sister proudly flashed her diamond ring in front of me, seeing my displeased expression. She thought I was green with envy and glared at me fiercely, saying, "Sis, don't you dare have the nerve to steal my boyfriend. In this lifetime, Marlo must be mine." I rolled my eyes at her and said angrily, "How many times do I have to say it? I have zero interest in Marlo. Please, from now on, don't mention a single thing about him in front of me." 11. The college entrance exams had finally arrived. The tests felt effortless. Even if I couldn't top the provincial rankings like in my previous life, I should still land within the top 10. My sister emerged from the exam hall radiating confidence and was immediately swarmed by reporters waiting outside. "Opal, how confident are you feeling about this year's college entrance exam?" My younger sister replied with unwavering confidence. "Barring any surprises, I should be able to clinch the top spot in the provincial rankings." That confident? Absolutely. After all, I'm a prodigy, for someone like me. Anything less than first place in the province would be an insult to the title genius. That's true. We're all eagerly awaiting the exam results, hoping our city produces the provincial top scorer. I heard Opal has a twin sister. I wonder how she performed. Do you think she'll be able to match your results? As if the reporter had asked the most ridiculous question in the world, the younger sister smirked disdainfully. My sister? Even though we're twins, we're completely different in both looks and intelligence. She's just a nerdy bookworm who does nothing but study. Spotting me passing by with my heavy bangs and oversized school uniform, she grabbed me and thrust me in front of the journalist's camera. She was meticulously dressed, polished, radiant, and brimming with confident enthusiasm. I, on the other hand, looked like a lifeless high school nerd, in contrast with her. The journalists all marveled at how different the two sisters were, praising her relentlessly. I didn't mind playing the supporting role to her, even intentionally making myself appear clumsy and dull. As soon as the media coverage went online, my younger sister's fanbase surged again, reaching 8 million followers. She's been aggressively promoting herself everywhere, raking in millions from live streaming revenue. Now she's become that enviable nouveau riche everyone whispers about. She flaunted her earnings right in my face, sneering that even if I had the god of wealth on my side, I'd still be stuck looking like a penniless loser. Little does she know, the funds I've invested in the stock market have already doubled to $2 billion. Once it hits $3 billion, that's when I'll really start making my move. When the time comes, even if there were 10 Marlos, I wouldn't be afraid of him. 12. The highly anticipated college entrance exam results have been released. Many reporters had already staked out our doorstep, waiting to interview my sister. Back then, this prodigy girl had boldly declared she would clinch the top provincial score, so whether she becomes the provincial top scorer or not, it's already a hot topic. Wanting to avoid trouble, I quietly distanced myself early on, even before the official score release. I received calls from Tsinghua and Peking University, both top-tier institutions, enthusiastically inviting me to enroll and offering generous incentives. These calls mirrored my previous experience, confirming that I must have done well on the exams. I graciously declined the generous offers from Tsinghua and Peking University, expressing my intention to enroll in the National Defense University with a patriotic heart dedicated to serving the nation. This had been my aspiration in my previous life. It's just that I've been constantly controlled by Marlo, forced to serve as a tool for his personal desires, completely against my will. In this lifetime, I won't dwell on Tsinghua University's prestige anymore, nor have anything to do with Marlo. I should finally be free. When I logged into the college entrance exam score portal, my results were withheld. My younger sister's scores were also withheld. 13. The withheld scores have now been released, just like always, by exactly 1 point. My sister scored higher than me again. This exam deity is truly golden. My younger sister clinched the top spot in the provincial college entrance exams, while I came in second. My sister has been telling everyone that the reason I achieved such results is because she tutored me in advance. When others ask me, I give the same answer: let her have all the attention she craves. I don't care for any of this. My sister's genius persona is solidified, and her fan base is surging again, sis. I'm aiming for Tsinghua University. I hope you know your place and don't apply to the same school. I wouldn't want my brilliance to overshadow you. It's time to fill out college applications, and my sister gave me a stern warning. I replied with a laugh, don't worry, I'm not interested in Tsinghua. I'm applying to the National Defense University. Still skeptical, she glared at me and said, you'd better. When you submit your applications, I'll be watching to make sure you don't go back on your word. I didn't mind. Right in front of her, I applied to the National Defense University and chose biochemical nuclear energy technology. This was my field of expertise in my previous life, but I was forced to apply it commercially instead of serving the nation. 14. My sister and Marlo publicly announced their relationship online with great fanfare, and both received early admission to Tsinghua University. The union of a prodigious young woman and a business genius brought my sister an influx of fans and online traction, making her almost as popular as top-tier celebrities. I've seen the early admission notices arrive for others, but mine hasn't come yet, and I haven't heard from National Defense University about interviews or anything. A gut feeling told me something was off. When I logged into the college application system, I was shocked to discover that my only choice, National Defense University, had been cancelled. It was replaced by a local third-rate technical college. My heart sank. I rushed out the door and grabbed my sister, who was returning beaming with joy. Opal, how dare you change my college application? She pushed me away indifferently. So what if I did? You're my only sister. I don't want to hand you over to the state. And I refuse to bear our parents' burdens alone. Besides, a technical college is all you're cut out for anyway. Smack. Furious, I slapped her hard across the face. Fine, I'll be watching to see just how perfect you two are for each other. 15. There was no way I was going to just accept not getting into the National Defense University, the place I'd been dreaming about. Only by attending the National Defense University can I truly break free from Marlo. I've lived a second life already. I'm no clueless high school student. In my previous life, I had dealings with the president of the National Defense University and still have his contact information. I called the president and explained my situation. He asked me to come to the capital for an interview. I immediately booked a flight, boarded the plane, and headed to the capital to meet the university president. After our conversation, the president promptly offered me a special admission and promised me a biochemical nuclear energy research team, on the condition that I could fully fund the research myself. With $3 billion in stock assets, funding the research is no issue at all. What I need is a platform and a talented team. 16. How on earth did you get into National Defense University? My younger sister asked in disbelief as she saw me getting ready to report at NDU, on merit. Just before stepping out with my suitcase, I turned back to remind her, our charms are about to expire. Tsinghua has an aptitude test during orientation. Don't let your true nature slip when the time comes. A flicker of panic crossed my sister's face, but she quickly composed herself and retorted dismissively, I'm already accepted. I doubt they'd dare revoke my admission. With my 10 million followers, Tsinghua wouldn't be foolish enough to mess with an influencer like me. Well, good luck with that. Dragging my suitcase, I headed straight toward my dreams, ready to contribute my part to the nation's defense infrastructure. 17. I just got off the plane. My phone started ringing. Seeing it was an unknown number, I assumed it was from the National Defense University and answered the call. A sinister voice came through the phone. Marlo S. Iris, I'm giving you an ultimatum. Withdraw from the National Defense University immediately, or I'll make your sister's life a living hell. In my past life, Marlo had also threatened me with my sister's life. Back then, I cherished our sisterly bond and let her become my weakness, yet she grew envious and ended my life. In this lifetime, she's still trying to outshine me at every turn, even went so far as to tamper with my college applications, draining the last drop of familial affection I held for her. I won't care about her survival anymore, especially when it involves Marlo. I couldn't be bothered to say another word to Marlo. I hung up, blocked him, and shut off my phone. When I arrived at the school to register, the principal called me into his office and handed me a stack of complaint letters. These are all reports about you, he said. They accuse you of poor character and cheating on exams. What do you have to say for yourself? I know these letters must be Marlo's doing. He knew that if I got into the National Defense University and became a state-protected researcher, he'd lose his last chance to ever reach me, control me, or exploit me again. Without opening the letter, I calmly met the principal's gaze. Sir, my conscience is clear. If you have doubts about me, I'm willing to undergo a probationary period. I personally recruited you because I believe in your capabilities. We desperately need talents like you to contribute to our national defense efforts. The principal patted my shoulder and beckoned toward the doorway with a warm smile. Come, let me introduce you to someone, as I turned toward the entrance. There stood the face that had haunted my dreams across 2 lifetimes, and my heart began pounding like a drum. Asher, that rascal of mine. The principal gestured toward him and said to me, he wants to join your team, see if he's up to your standards. Absolutely. I nodded excitedly without a second thought. My determination to enter the National Defense University wasn't just about contributing to the country's defense. It was also for Asher. I wanted to work and live alongside him. Thank you, Junior Iris. I look forward to working with you. Asher reached out his hand to me. His fingers were slender with well-defined knuckles, the pads roughened by calluses from years of laboratory work. Nervously, I reached out and took his hand. Just as I was about to pull my hand back, he suddenly tightened his grip, his eyes shining with intensity and emotion as he said in a low voice, Iris, I've been waiting for you for so long. Huh? I looked at him in surprise. You know me. I've known you for so long, it feels like a lifetime has passed. Asher gazed deeply at me, his eyes sparkling. I understand now, he's been reborn too. I always thought my feelings for him were just a one-sided crush. Little did I know, he had been waiting for me too. My eyes grew slightly red as I looked up and asked, can I hug you? Asher spread his arms and pulled me into a tight embrace, holding me close, nestled against his solid chest, listening to his strong and steady heartbeat. I felt like I was in a dream I never wanted to wake from. 18, Asher and I established a research team. As 2 individuals who had been reborn, we used our memories from our previous lives to proactively recruit talented young people who were destined for great achievements. The research funding is my own, so I have full discretion over how it's used. Every project our team undertakes progresses smoothly, yielding world-leading scientific achievements that significantly bolster our nation's defense capabilities, making Western countries led by Nation M wary. Rumor has it that Nation M's military has placed a hefty bounty on my head. However, they can't locate me, nor do they know my true identity. From the moment I entered defense research, I was no longer Iris, but Agent 001. Asher and I were perfectly aligned, both intellectually and in our research. We never let work interfere with romance. Nor romance with work, doing what you love with the one you love. I'm absolutely over the moon. As for the nightmares Marlowe brought me, they're completely over now. I'm no longer some state-protected figure he can claim connections to. As for how he and my sister are doing now, I couldn't care less, but I'm not the type to bury myself in research and ignore the world around me. Occasionally when I go online, I come across news about the 2 of them, in this lifetime, without me. Marlowe never truly became a business tycoon. He did start a company called Myth, but it went bankrupt within 6 months, and he got sentenced to 15 years in prison for fundraising fraud. As for my sister Opal, her exam luck charm failed, and she was expelled for cheating on Tsinghua University's entrance exam. During her live stream, she couldn't solve the simplest elementary math problems, struggled to read a middle school English passage, and didn't even know basic physics terms like acceleration and gravity. Her child prodigy persona instantly crumbled, fans abandoned her in droves, and she got banned from all online platforms. Just like in her previous life, she ended up destitute again, ultimately suffering a mental breakdown from the pressure. People often post photos of her daily life online. She keeps asking everyone she meets, why does everything my sister touches turn to gold? Why does everything I choose go wrong? No one in the street ever answers her. I want to tell her, the choice itself doesn't matter. What matters is the effort you put in. Only what you earn through hard work will truly last. And, story 2, the government sells beast eggs for 10 coins each. Unwanted beast eggs are destroyed by the authorities. Last one left. Miss, won't you take it? I'll pass. Having been reborn, I knew that unwanted gray egg would be my doom. I came specifically to witness its destruction, to alter my fate. Never did I expect the man to thrust the beast egg into my arms. Miss, this egg is for you. Clearwater Village is remote, and official sales are infrequent. Every sale becomes a mad rush when it opens. Any adult can own a contracted beast, be it for companionship or chores. In my past life, Father made me queue up early to get one. When I arrived, the line was already packed. Thought I'd missed my chance again this time. But everyone ahead of me kept shaking their heads in refusal. When my turn came, only one unwanted little gray egg remained. 1. The appearance of a beast egg often indicates the strength of its contracted familiar. Each person can only contract one familiar at a time, so nobody wants to end up with a weak one. While contracts can be dissolved, termination takes a year, and forming a new contract requires another full year. No one's willing to take that kind of risk. So this plain-looking little gray egg was rejected by everyone. Last one left. Miss, want it? Will you destroy the beast eggs no one chooses? After getting confirmation from the officials, I pulled out the 10 copper coins I'd painstakingly saved. It's still a living being, let's save it. I carefully carried the beast egg home, and Dad froze for a moment when he saw it. Why'd you pick such an unremarkable one? Well, I kinda like it. Day after day, I tended to him with utmost care, gently wiping away every speck of dust from his shell. 10 days later, the first cracks of his hatching began to appear. My heart raced with excitement as I gazed upon the Covenant array. When the light faded, those mesmerizing violet eyes completely captivated me. I can't bear to see him lift a finger. I bustle about attending to his every need, just to earn his smile. A single smile from him brightens my whole day. When he said he wanted to see the world, I followed him out of Qingshui village without hesitation, hearing of the capital's splendor. He pestered us relentlessly to go there. On the journey, we chanced upon Princess Valeria. The reigning princess was notorious for her domineering ways, with countless male beastmen having fallen into her clutches. The moment Princess Valeria laid eyes on him, she was captivated by his striking appearance. A beastman of such striking looks deserves better than some country bumpkin like you. I'll give you 1,000 taels. How about selling him to me? I refused, of course. Between wealth and him, I choose him. The orc by Princess Valeria's side put in a good word for me, and that settled the matter. I failed to notice the emotions flickering in his eyes. Looking back, he was probably already scheming how to get rid of me. Otherwise, we wouldn't have kept running into Princess Valeria time and again. The way Princess Valeria looked at him made my blood boil. So I deliberately stepped between them, but you can't stop someone who's determined to throw themselves at another. We'd barely set foot in the capital when they came for us. While I was being tortured in that dungeon, he was busy canoodling with Princess Valeria. I didn't realize I was the only one imprisoned. With every lash, I clenched my teeth, fighting to keep silent. I couldn't let him hear my torture. I feared he'd surrender. Why refuse the princess? Is some beastman worth this suffering? I want him and him alone. They kept cycling through different torture devices on me, over and over. Eventually, even the executioner couldn't bear to watch and secretly lightened his blows. When I dragged my freshly wounded body back to the cell, there was a new inmate beside me. How did a beast egg like you end up in prison? Seems Princess Valeria's new favorite really knows how to please her. Otherwise, that woman would never have abandoned this beast egg, said the orc imprisoned across from me. Rumor has it he was originally taken by force by Princess Valeria too. After making a mistake, he was thrown into the dungeons by Princess Valeria. The tribute bearers claimed this was a dragon's egg, the only one of its kind in existence. Princess Valeria tried every conceivable method to hatch this stubborn egg, yet it refused to crack open no matter what she attempted. Back then, any of us would have gotten whipped for daring to touch it. Now look how it's been discarded here like trash. The orc finished with a self-deprecating chuckle. I reached out and patted the egg's uneven surface. You and I are quite alike, both stubborn as mules. Day after day, I lost count of how long I'd been imprisoned. When the pain became unbearable, I'd had that beast egg to keep my spirits up. If blood stained its shell, I'd wipe it clean with my sleeve. Sorry about this, I've gotten you dirty again. 2. Princess Valeria sent messengers twice, but each time I refused to dissolve my contract with him. That night in the prison cell, I saw those familiar violet eyes again. His attire was exquisite, radiating nobility from head to toe. Now I understood why he never responded whenever I called out to him in the cell. So that's how it was. Vivian, break the contract and I'll have you released. Haven't I treated you well? I glared at him with icy eyes. Fine. But that's not the life I want. A cold smirk curled my lips. All my kindness toward him might as well have been thrown to the dogs. As long as I don't break this contract, he'll remain bound to me every single day. It's satisfying to know this unsettles them. What will it take for you to break the contract? You want me to bless your union, in your dreams, then don't blame me for what happens next. It was the first time I'd seen such venom and hatred in his expression. Princess Valeria brought her own chair. She sat outside the cell, watching the cane strike me again and again. Speak up if you change your mind. I'm merciful. I don't take lives. Thwack, 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 crack. They broke several wooden rods, beating me until I was barely alive. The cell echoed only with the sound of clubbing blows. I'd rather die than talk. He didn't lay a hand on me. The pact shields him from harm, but as long as this contract stands, my death will cost him half his cultivation. I despise him, right now. I'd gladly suffer 1,000 losses just to make him bleed 800. The beast egg suddenly rolled aside, as if desperately trying to shield me. After taking 2 hits from me, the eggshell began glowing faintly around its edges. Is it about to hatch? But I can't hold on any longer. I'll never get to see your human form, miss. Don't dismiss him as leftover stock. What matters most in a contract beast is strength. Judging by this contract glow, he's the real deal. I've seen enough to know. The surrounding crowd craned their necks as the contract array lit up. The surrounding noise snapped me out of my thoughts. I knew he wouldn't disappoint, but that's exactly why I'm afraid, because he's not weak. Even though I didn't choose him again, he's still tangled up in my life. What accursed fate. We must not repeat the mistakes of the past this time. The light gradually dimmed. Those familiar violet eyes gazed at me quietly, just as they had in our past life. That piercing stare sent shivers down my spine. Are you my master? The contract is sealed now, we'll have to wait a full year to dissolve it. Seeing me walk away, he obediently trailed behind. Vivian, did you get the beast eggs? I let out a sigh. Father leaned in to look. The moment I saw him, my eyes filled with awe. This beast egg formed a contract so quickly. There was a slight mishap. Father circled around him again and again before nodding in satisfaction. The radiance emanating from him was truly beyond what ordinary beastmen could achieve. Have you picked a name? Call him Loren. Loren, a cast-off. Perfect for him. He froze momentarily upon hearing the name, but quickly regained his composure. This time, I won't indulge him anymore. Every morning I'd rouse him to chop firewood and light the stove. After he wrecked my kitchen for the third time, I decided to teach him a proper lesson. I borrowed money to buy a beast-taming whip from the treasure pavilion. After lash upon lash, he finally managed to cook something barely edible. There's always this indescribable emotion in the way he looks at me. It feels like he's seeing someone else through me. Vivian, were you always this violent before? He said it without a trace of hatred in his eyes. What, did I hit you too hard? No, you were right to hit me. I wasn't good enough. His current attitude makes it hard to connect him with that arrogant orc from our past life, remembering everything that happened. Just seeing those violet eyes irritates me, yet Father treats him with great warmth, often buying him the food orcs love. His true form is a tincture serpent, and he's terrified of centipedes. I often hide live centipedes in his favorite dishes, the big, fat ones. Vivian, you've made a pact with him. You should really try to get along. That's my father's constant refrain lately. I agreed verbally, but my actions still showed hostility toward him at every turn. I made him do hard labor to earn silver for me, money I planned to use for my journey later. Seeing me pack my clothes, he couldn't help but ask, "Are you going somewhere?" "Yes, I'm planning to take you out to see the world." Sensing his resistance, I felt puzzled. Last time he was the one who wanted to explore the world. Why is he refusing now that I'm suggesting it? Doesn't matter if he's willing or not, I'm taking him with me regardless. That 1,000 taels of silver is waiting for me. This trip wasn't for sightseeing. I timed it perfectly to return to where I first met Princess Valeria, to better catch Princess Valeria's eye. I even bought him new clothes in advance. Just as expected, Princess Valeria was instantly captivated by his appearance the moment she saw him, but this time, he seemed unusually resistant. That fleeting flash of hatred in his eyes was directed at Princess Valeria, though he hid it well. I still caught it. This is clearly their first meeting in this lifetime. Where does this hatred come from? A sudden thought crossed my mind. Princess Valeria asked just as she had in our past life, "How about I give you 1,000 taels to sell him to me?" I feigned hesitation and replied, "The contract hasn't reached its first year yet. I'd need considerable time before termination, no matter. If you're willing, simply return with me and wait it out." Loren suddenly grabbed my arm with such force that it hurt. I frowned in displeasure and swatted his hand away. Turning to Princess Valeria with a smile, I asked, "May I have some time to consider?" "Very well, I shall depart at noon tomorrow. I hope to hear a satisfactory answer before my departure." Princess Valeria reached out to touch Loren before leaving. Loren seemed to have anticipated it, sidestepping the contact. "Why do you hate her?" He stared at me in shock. Clearly taken aback by my question, I cut straight to the chase. "I saw a flicker of hatred in your eyes when you looked at her. Vivian, would you believe me if I told you something?" "Go on." "Had I not been curious about the source of that hatred, I would have accepted Princess Valeria's 1,000 taels long ago." After much hesitation, he finally spoke up. "Actually, I've been reborn." But to conceal myself, I still put on a face of utter disbelief. "I know this sounds unbelievable, but trust me, everything I'm about to say is true. In our past life, we were deeply in love. During a trip together, we encountered Princess Valeria, who went so far as to tear me away from you and even had you imprisoned. I even debased myself to her in hopes of saving you, yet she beat you to death right before my eyes. The trauma shattered my cultivation, leaving me in perpetual despair until my untimely demise. The sickening tenderness in those violet eyes nearly made me retch. What an exquisite fabrication." My voice turned glacial. "So you just stood there watching them bludgeon me to death?" He was momentarily speechless, then explained, "She had me bound with beast ropes. I couldn't move a muscle. So this is the consequence of refusing Princess Valeria back then." Seeing his nod, I sneered. "Then it seems refusal isn't an option this time." I cut him off before he could finish. "He tricked me." So I'll trick him back. That's only fair. Changing my usual attitude, I spoke to him gently. You don't want to see me die horribly again, do you? Since you treated us like that in our past lives, why don't you seek revenge for what happened before? There's definitely bad blood between those two. Since he won't talk, let them tear each other apart. Saves me the trouble of making excuses. I've got plans for that thousand tales. I need to talk some sense into him. Only if he stays true to his past self can my plan proceed. We could pretend to agree with her first. Wouldn't staying by Princess Valeria's side give you the perfect position for revenge? The contract remains intact anyway. You can return whenever you choose. You truly won't abandon me. Didn't you say we were deeply in love in our past life? How could I ever leave you? To make this statement more convincing, fighting back my discomfort, I took his hand and held it tightly in mine. My agreement brought Princess Valeria great joy. Considering the bond between us remained until the contract's dissolution, I proposed accompanying Princess Valeria on her return. I won't leave until the day the contract is broken. Welcome home, Your Highness. Rows of orcs stood in perfect formation on both sides, stretching as far as the eye could see. I finally understood the true meaning of legion beyond counting. The rumors didn't do it justice, beyond awe. I couldn't help but marvel at Princess Valeria's prowess. All but one contracted beast stayed willingly, for, unbelievable, that beating with sticks demands careful retaliation planning. Attendants, see to my honored guests' comfort. The princess's estate was so vast it was exhausting just to walk across. Princess Valeria provided me with an orcish mount, and I casually inquired, with so many orcs here, there must be plenty of orc eggs too. No, Her Highness possesses only one unhatched orc egg. Have you seen it? He nodded earnestly. That beast egg has always been kept in Her Highness's bedchamber. We've all seen it. The princess treasures it dearly. Fingering the thousand-tael banknote, I silently prayed, Loren, you'd better not let me down. From the day I moved into the princess's manor, I deliberately started getting close to those beastmen, especially those who've fallen out of favor. That way they won't draw unwanted attention. I don't believe all orcs here are like Loren. Any orc taken by force will inevitably harbor resentment. No matter how well you disguise it, resentment remains resentment. The slightest show of reluctant compliance would earn me their sympathy. Once those feelings grew strong enough, they became my informants. Miss Vivian, Her Highness is away from the manor today. Now would be the perfect time to seek your beastman. Thank you. I slipped out of the house and stealthily made my way to the princess's chambers. No orc would dare enter the princess's quarters without permission, so I seized the moment to retrieve the beast eggs I'd prepared earlier. I held the two rough-shelled eggs, one in each hand. Apart from a slight weight difference, it's nearly impossible to tell the real from the fake with the naked eye. Truly a master forger's masterpiece. Those 800 taels were well spent. What are you doing? Came a familiar voice suddenly from behind. My whole body shuddered as my heart pounded like a drumbeat passing through a crowd. I never expected Loren to barge into the royal chambers, let alone catch me in the act of swapping the beast egg. Loren, I was at a complete loss for words, utterly unprepared to explain myself. 5, he demanded. What are you doing with that beast egg, and why is there an identical one here? I only did this for your sake. In the lull between thoughts, I quickly stashed the real beast egg into my bag and replaced it with the replica. For me, indeed, I heard Princess Valeria treasures this beast egg dearly. I feared its sudden hatching might jeopardize your standing with her, so I specially commissioned this counterfeit for the switcheroo. You've never seen this beast egg before, have you? How did you commission its creation? All the beast folk have seen it. I relied on their descriptions and went through several revisions to recreate this identical one. Truth is, I never needed the beast folks' accounts at all. Back then, I slept embracing it every night. I remember every single vein on that eggshell as clearly as day. To avoid arousing Loren's suspicion, I had no choice but to throw myself into his arms. Loren, I've missed you so much. Being apart these days made me realize how much I actually can't bear to be without you. Do you think I was unkind to you before? Loren held me close and shook his head, saying, Never. You're the only one who's ever truly been good to me. But I heard Princess Valeria is quite fond of you. You wouldn't let that distract you from our mission, would you? Don't worry. I'll make sure you get your revenge. Ah, you're so sweet, Loren. Before leaving, I stole several longing glances back at him for good measure, not until I was certain he couldn't see me anymore. Only then did I dash back inside at full speed to bathe and change. Gazing at the beast egg floating in the tub center, I tapped it gently with my finger. I've sacrificed so much for you, but at least I've freed you from that living hell. Don't worry, I'll get you out safely. A string of tiny bubbles suddenly surfaced, startling me into immediately picking it up to inspect. There aren't even any cracks on the eggshell. Where did these bubbles come from? Looking left and right, I even asked nervously, You didn't drown on me, did you? I pressed the beast egg against my ear, listening quietly for any movement inside. Only after confirming faint sounds from the egg did I dare to breathe normally again. As long as you're okay. Lying in bed, I stared at that egg in the distance for what felt like ages. In the end, I decided to bring it over and sleep with it. Back in the cell, I used to fall asleep holding this egg every single night. Now that it's right here, not holding it feels strangely wrong. I kept it hidden in my bundle by day, only taking it out secretly at night. Bear with it for these few days. In 3 days, Princess Valeria will attend the palace banquet. That's when I'll sneak you out to safety. I woke up the next morning completely stunned. The egg cracked. I thought this monster egg was indestructible. How could it break so easily? How could I have crushed it? Tears welled up in my eyes as I cradled the broken shell. I'm so sorry, I whispered mournfully. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have slept while holding you. Sniff. I really didn't mean to crush you. Suddenly, a soft chuckle reached my ears. I whirled around to see a strange man sitting calmly in a chair, locking eyes with me. His aura was identical to the eggshell in my hand. I pointed at him and stammered, "Why you're that monster egg." 6. He curled his index finger and wrapped it against my forehead. No wonder you got bullied to death. You're so dense. Wait a minute. Why did he say it's no wonder I'd be bullied to death? Could it be? I gasped. So you're the one who brought me back to life. He didn't answer, but the faint smile on his lips told me everything. So he was genuinely trying to protect me back then. Overwhelmed, I threw my arms around him. 1,000 words of gratitude condensed into the simplest phrase, thank you. But that Tingsha serpent has also been reborn. I know. What trouble could a mere flying serpent possibly cause? He suddenly frowned and asked, don't tell me your contracted beast is still that same old Tengu. Got it. My smile froze on my face. This question is so awkward. I don't want to answer. TCH, how pathetic. So embarrassing. Can't let him think I'm desperate for that Ting snake. I'd better explain the whole situation clearly and quickly. Want me to take him out for you? No. I still have uses for Loren. Why is he giving me that weird look? I'm not going. Does he think I'm lying to him? But I thought I'd explained it perfectly clearly. A soft knock suddenly sounded at the door. Miss Vivian, Her Highness requests your presence. Very well. I'll be right there after getting ready. Before leaving, I repeatedly warned Eldar to keep quiet, and absolutely forbade him from stepping outside the door. His looks were far more striking than Lauren's. If Princess Valeria were to spot him, all my efforts to save him would have been for nothing. The plan to send him away in 3 days will have to be put on hold for now. Beast eggs are easy to carry, but people aren't. Not all those orcs have turned traitor yet. I'll need to bide my time. When I went to see Princess Valeria, Loren was standing by as well. Princess Valeria traced the rim of her cup absently with slender fingers. After a long pause, she finally spoke. Do you know why I summoned you? This humble girl knows not. This beastman holds you in such high regard. Though your contract is less than a year old, he thinks of nothing but your kindness. Tell me, how should I deal with him? If Princess Valeria really wanted to punish her, she could have done it outright. Dragging me here like this clearly wasn't about settling scores. I refused to be part of their little games. I snapped. How could this be, Loren? The princess's kindness toward you is as clear as day. How could you be so ungrateful? Since you're still my contracted beast, I'll teach you a proper lesson on her behalf. I grabbed the nearby taming whip and moved to strike Loren. He stared at me in disbelief. Could he have been reborn too? What's with the attitude? Take your punishment like a man. You brought this on yourself by displeasing Her Highness. I swung with all my might. That's the only way to honor myself. The whip struck Loren with pinpoint accuracy, instantly staining flesh crimson. With an opportunity this perfect, I won't hold back. The moment Loren cried out, Princess Valeria's heart instantly ached for him. Shameless couple, I struck again without giving Princess Valeria a chance to speak. When the princess disciplines you, you take it. That cry of yours, dare you still resist? Then I shall beat you on Her Highness's behalf until you learn your lesson. Rest assured, Princess Valeria. Since you've summoned me today, I shall thoroughly discipline him for you. Not a single worry shall trouble you further. Every word I spoke made it clear this beating was delivered in Princess Valeria's name. Princess Valeria attempted to speak several times, but I cut her off each time. The whip cracked sharply in my hand. A smirk played on my lips as I watched Loren seethe in silent fury, filling me with wicked satisfaction. Is Princess Valeria pleased? Should your anger remain unquenched, I'd gladly continue the thrashing for you, and no, that won't be necessary. Rubbing my sore arm, I finally lowered the whip with satisfaction. That night, I sent someone with premium healing salve to Loren, along with a letter to clear my name. I was gambling on his hatred for Princess Valeria, having spent considerable time by Princess Valeria's side. Loren could approach her far more easily than I just need to bide my time. 7. Eldar was the wild card in this entire plan. I can't just ignore a full-grown person suddenly appearing in my house. It was so adorable when it was just an egg. Who knew transforming would make you this shameless? I'm taking the bed. If you don't like it, go sleep on the floor. When I went to fetch bedding for the floor, he started messing with me on purpose. Stay calm, stay calm. Why bother getting angry with an orc? The whole farce finally ended with me agreeing to sleep on the inner side. In the dead of night, I suddenly woke with a start. Outside, voices clamored and lights blazed brightly. Trouble brewing. Stay here, I'll check it out. The orcs were rushing toward Princess Valeria's chambers. I followed behind to get a quick rundown of the situation. Loren committed lèse majesté against Princess Valeria and was subdued on the spot by her contracted beast, just as I thought. TSK. Didn't expect him to lose his cool so easily. Valeria, don't flatter yourself thinking everyone likes you. You're just a vile, disgusting piece of trash. By the time I arrived, the situation was already under control. Loren had blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, his arms pinned by the orcs. Princess Valeria sat glaring venomously at Loren, her right hand clutching her neck as blood seeped relentlessly between her fingers. How dare you wound me? I'll make sure you die screaming. Huh? You think I'm afraid? This time I'll drag you down with me, Loren spat as he broke free from the orc restraining him. In his primal form, Loren still possessed considerable combat prowess. With so many orcs surrounding them, he posed absolutely no threat to Princess Valeria. I exchanged a knowing glance with the orc beside me. They subtly shifted positions, shielding me from view. I slipped silently behind the princess, gripping the dagger an orc had handed me. Princess Valeria was completely focused on Loren, oblivious to the danger approaching from behind. I took a deep breath and plunged the dagger into her back. A piercing scream followed. She whirled around with a gaze that could flay me alive. Seeing my success, Loren burst into unrestrained laughter. Ha, did you really think she'd willingly give me up to you? Let me tell you, it was all an act, every bit of it, understand? Princess Valeria panicked for real now. Desperately stuffing hemostatic pills into her mouth, her fingers trembled as she pointed at me. 8. Kill her, you. The orcs surrounding her remained motionless, while those attacking Loren suddenly turned their attention toward me. Valeria stared at the orcs in disbelief, demanding, Why won't you move? A sinister smile played on my lips, my eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Ha, isn't it obvious? They've betrayed us. With these orcs around, Princess Valeria's loyalists wouldn't reach her in time. The dagger plunged into her flesh again and again, just like that wooden stick beating down on me again and again. I originally intended to wait for a more opportune moment to act, never thought Loren would confront her prematurely. Guess I'll advance this orc uprising ahead of schedule. You should have seen this coming when you abused your power to seize bonded beasts. Today I shall avenge the fallen beastkin whose souls you shattered, and sacrifice your wretched life for the innocent lives you've slaughtered. Valeria's face turned ashen, her breathing grew ragged, and her body began convulsing uncontrollably, until she finally collapsed from her chair onto the floor. The beastkin erupted into fiercer combat, while her contracted beast went berserk in its frenzy to kill me. Watching these orcs desperately shielding me, my heart was filled with conflicting emotions. My original plan never intended for them to sacrifice their lives, but now, Valeria is dead. You should leave this place immediately, but if we leave, you owe me nothing. Just go. Some sought vengeance for their master, while others simply wanted their freedom back. With Valeria dead, they've gotten what they wanted. I can't repay you for sacrificing your lives here. We'll cover your escape. Though the man is dead, the grudge lives on. Those orcs won't let me off easily. Especially since it was a princess who died. The royal family will hunt me down. That's exactly why I kept Loren by her side, to pin everything on him when the time came. He's thrown a wrench in my plans. For now, we'll just have to play it by ear. Alright, TCH, weren't you supposed to go check it out? What's got you so hooked at this ungodly hour that you won't leave? Eldar materialized as if a deity descending upon the mortal realm. His white robe stood in stark contrast against the bloodshed, that roguish glint in his eyes still carrying a hint of amusement. The scene froze for mere seconds at his arrival before the assault came crashing toward him. He sidestepped with a quick dodge. He sauntered toward me with nonchalance, casually kicking Valeria's lifeless body on the ground. 9. Good. Stone dead. Loren cut him off, shielding me just in time. Eldar sent him flying with just a wave of his hand, leaving me wide-eyed in shock. That powerful, he took my hand and said, Come on, let's go to bed. Every obstacle in his path was instantly obliterated. The power gap is overwhelmingly vast. Vivian, Loren gritted through the pain as he struggled to his feet. Eldar halted when he noticed me freeze mid-step, almost got distracted by Eldar's aura. I still have unfinished business. The orcs hesitated to approach, seeing the Eldar by my side. I strode up to Loren and slapped him across the face, sending his already unsteady body teetering on the edge of collapse. Do you have any idea how many lives your actions have cost today? Why did you suddenly attack Valeria? Speak up. Cat got your tongue. Loren's eyes burned crimson, overflowing with seething hatred for Valeria. She betrayed you. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. If he really cared about me, he wouldn't have stood by and even poured fuel on the fire back then. That nonsense about having an epiphany after my death wouldn't fool a ghost. Loren wouldn't have acted rashly unless Valeria did something to provoke him. There's no way this happened because Valeria didn't intervene during the day. Then what's the real reason? Eldar suddenly spoke up. If you're curious, just ask me. No need to waste words with him, you know. Wondering why he suddenly lashed out, Eldar's lips curled into a smirk, his malicious intent glaringly obvious. Probably said something he didn't want to hear, like exchange, perhaps. Lauren's expression visibly darkened when Eldar uttered that word. Eldar couldn't care less about his reaction and deliberately announced loudly, after all, that woman despised him for losing half his cultivation. She sold him to the pleasure house that very night for entertainment. His look of utter disbelief only served to confirm Eldar's words. Loren clearly never expected Eldar would know about his past life. You're lying, Vivian. Don't listen to his nonsense. I resented her because of you. I knew how good you'd been to me, and I regretted it instantly. I'm done pretending now. I called out his past life name directly. Linyu, drop the act. The successive shock sent him collapsing to the ground. He kept shaking his head, muttering, no, impossible. How could you know that name? The contract was an accident to begin with. I originally came to witness your destruction. You're not the only one who's been reborn, but you said you missed me, that you couldn't bear to let me go. Why take a performance meant for the occasion so seriously? Loren suddenly looked up, as if everything had become clear. No wonder you don't treat me like you did in our past life. So you genuinely wanted to sell me out to that woman? Absolutely. I laid out the entire plan without hesitation. It was useless now anyway. Loren suddenly burst into maniacal laughter, blood dripping from his mouth in a horrifying spectacle. Pity, you'll still have to die with us. The sudden appearance of the serpent's tail left me no time to dodge. The expected pain never came. When I opened my eyes, I saw Eldar gripping the serpent's tail and flinging it aside. Think I'm just for decoration. The blow sent Loren crashing to the ground. A packed beast and its master should share the closest bond. Pity I chose the wrong person. Under Eldar's suppression, he ultimately met his end by my hand. The contract seal flashed briefly beneath me. I knew that meant the contract had been voided, with past lives settled. It's time to deal with those orcs now. Aside from those who wanted to leave anyway, many remained loyal to Princess Valeria, unwilling to forsake their life of luxury. The dead are beyond saving, and royal sins aren't yours to bear. Take the gold and live the life you choose. The road ahead is long and treacherous. But freedom shall be yours the moment you step beyond the princess's manor tonight. The beast folk who had insisted on staying to protect me began departing one after another. Even those who were wavering in their decision eventually joined the exodus. 10. The remaining beast folk exchanged uneasy glances, while some glared at me with resentment. Most wore expressions of utter bewilderment. If you're lost, you're welcome to follow me. I won't ask anything of you, nor restrict your freedom. Leave whenever you wish, I shall follow you as well. With Eldar joining, many orcs began nodding in agreement, so I took them on an impromptu journey through the mountains and rivers that very night. Overnight, the princess's estate stood empty, not a single corpse remained, only signs of struggle. Whispers spread through the streets. Princess Valeria had vanished, along with her beastfolk companions. Not a single living soul remained in the manor. Even the royal family found no opening to intervene in the investigation. Ugh, Eldar rushed aside again, vomiting violently as I hurried over to pat his back and help him catch his breath. Ugh, gross, that disgusting. Who do you think I'm doing this for, you ungrateful little brat? That night Eldar revealed his true form, a white dragon circling in the sky. The dragon devours all. He swallowed his disgust and cleaned up the mess for me. The rain poured down in an instant, washing away every trace of blood. A year later, I could form new beast contracts again. Many orcs seek to bond with me, yet I've kept that place reserved. Eldar, form the pact. Eldar, form the pact. No, Eldar, let's make a pact. Vivian, you're so annoying. I don't want to be your contracted beast. He lightly tapped my head and replied with a hint of complaint. Figure it out yourself. Story 2. My nephew destroyed my game account with 10,000 hours of playtime. He controlled my character to massacre the entire tribe, mocking me for being naive and foolish enough to max out the favorability of ordinary NPCs. My mother also slapped me, shielding him protectively in her arms. She said it's just a stupid game, nowhere near as important as blood-related family, but they didn't know that the game would merge with the real world, and all NPCs would descend upon reality. What they personally destroyed wasn't the slim chance of survival I had worked 8 long years to obtain, it was their own lives. 1. When I returned home, I noticed someone had tampered with the game cartridges in the cabinet. I immediately turned on the computer to check the account. Thankfully, the save file was still there. Wait, no. After witnessing the devastating situation in the game, my whole body started trembling violently. The once peaceful village was now filled with charred houses. The NPCs I usually see were standing dumbfounded in place, covered in wounds and blood. I tried to approach them, but their expressions remained blank as they retreated several steps in apparent terror. These were just ordinary NPCs without any boss-level abilities. If someone swung a blade at them, they could only endure it helplessly, even with their intelligence. They couldn't comprehend why someone who had smiled at them for so long would suddenly raise a butcher's knife against them. My heart feels as if it's being torn apart. The game is set up to be extremely realistic. Some can endure bleeding and injuries, but if not treated in time, these NPCs will die and be replaced by randomly generated new characters. After all, with their identical faces, no one would care anyway, except for me. I've played this game for a full 10,000 hours. Every flower and tree inside, I've watched grow from nothing. Every day I greet the NPCs inside, and for those without names, I've given them code names. After enduring prolonged calamities, we finally managed to survive on this harsh land and enjoyed a period of peaceful years. It could have continued like this forever, but now, everything has been destroyed. The instigator didn't even show the slightest hint of remorse. He used the blood from slaughtering NPCs as paint to cover the entire wall with profanities. Naya naya naya, so-and-so is here. Also, Auntie here didn't like the junk in your backpack, so I destroyed it all. You're welcome. My gaze froze on the term auntie. The culprit behind all this was my nephew, too. I stormed into the living room with overwhelming fury. My mother had just finished cooking and brought the dishes to the table, tearing off a whole chicken leg for my nephew. Here, little treasure, have this chicken leg, grow up big and strong. My nephew immediately reached out to take it and began chewing heartily without a second thought. The mother looked at him with loving eyes and scolded jokingly, "Grandma's cooking is delicious, isn't it? What's the hurry? The remaining chicken leg is yours too." Since childhood, Mother always gave the chicken legs to my elder brother, never to me, and now it's the same tradition with my brother's son. On what grounds? With old and new grievances intertwined, I grabbed him by the collar and dragged him toward the dining table, slamming him onto the floor. My mother screamed and rushed over. "Rain, what are you doing?" My nephew cried in pain, kicking at me wildly and scratching me with his long nails, leaving several bright red marks on my elbow. His scream was so piercing it felt like it would rupture my eardrums. "Evil ant, stinky ant, trying to steal my chicken leg, you vile woman, drop dead already." Just as I was about to hit him, my mother slapped me hard across the face, swift, decisive, without hesitation. It seems the choice between me and her grandson is quite obvious. Taking advantage of my daze, she swiftly snatched her nephew from my arms, cradling him protectively while blowing on him with tender concern. She glared at me furiously. "Have you lost your mind? This is your nephew. If you have any grievances, direct them at me. It's just a chicken leg. Look at your petty, calculating behavior. Have I ever shortchanged you or what? Going crazy for no reason all day long." I pulled up my game console and spoke coldly, word by word. "Who cares about chicken legs? Ask your precious grandson what he's done. Did I ever allow him to touch my things? He destroyed 10,000 hours of my gaming progress." A flicker of guilt flashed across my mother's face, but it vanished in an instant. Then she started shouting even louder. "What's the big deal letting your nephew play with it? What's so precious about your stuff? You throw a fit over the slightest touch. After all the years this family raised you, and now you're making trouble for your own family. What a sin." With his grandmother backing him up, the nephew's previously aggrieved expression vanished completely, revealing a triumphant smirk. He chimed in with my mom. "Exactly, Auntie, your stupid game isn't even fun anyway, but you can kill NPCs. They don't even fight back. It's hilarious." The boy snickered, revealing two large front teeth like a cunning rat in a ditch, his tone dripping with nonchalance. "But not as ridiculous as you, Auntie. You actually had nothing better to do than max out the affection levels of these trash NPCs. Since you're so bored, it shouldn't matter if you start over from scratch." I clenched my fists. I was afraid that if he said one more word, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from going to the kitchen to get a knife, pulling out his tongue, and cutting it off. I held back again and again before finally pushing them out the door with all my strength. "Get the hell out of my house, both of you. Don't even think about crossing this threshold again." My nephew shrank back at my roar, then opened his mouth and began to wail theatrically. "Grandma, she's being mean to me. Why won't she let me in the house? What right does a woman have to own property? This is my house, mine." My mom's face darkened after being publicly humiliated. She shook off my hand and shrieked, "You've grown too big for your boots, buying a house in secret and not letting us live here, yet your brother still doesn't have a place of his own. How can you be so selfish? It was just playing with your games, and you took it out on your nephew." Her face flushed red as she snatched the game console from my hands and hurled it out the window with all her might. "It's just a stupid game. How could it ever compare to family bonds thicker than blood?" 3. I rushed downstairs in a hurry. Fortunately, no one was injured by the object my mother threw from above, but that game console lay lonely on the lawn, having fallen from the 28th floor, its parts shattered into pieces, completely unrecognizable. Despite the sharp fragments, I carefully gathered them up. My mother and nephew arrived as well. My mother sneered, "It's broken beyond repair, and you still want to fix it. You're truly obsessed." My nephew hid behind my mother and said hypocritically, "Auntie, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize you treasured that game so much. It's all my fault, and I even caused Grandma to argue with you." My mother immediately waved her hand and said, all right. Did you hear Jackson apologize to you? Let's just drop this matter and move on. We'll still be coming to your place on weekends since it's closer to Jackson's tutoring class, so the kid can sleep in a bit more in the mornings." Seeing me ignore her and continue collecting the fragments of the game console, she said impatiently, "Hey, I'm talking to you. Are you pretending to be deaf?" I straightened up and said calmly, "Are you feeling quite pleased with yourselves? I could easily pick him up and throw him downstairs just like you threw my game console. Do you know why I didn't do that? It's not because I pity his worthless life, but because I have more public decency than you. I don't care if your grandson dies. But other people's bright futures shouldn't be ruined in an instant. Did it ever occur to you that throwing a game console could kill someone?" Hearing my words, a cold glint flashed in my young nephew's eyes as he said sinisterly, "Are you really going to let Grandma go to jail? If someone actually gets hit when the police come, I'll say it was you who threw it, with no surveillance cameras. Who can prove otherwise, at such a young age? He's already this malicious." My face turned icy as I clenched the sharp shard in my hand, advancing step by step. My mother shielded him behind her like a hen protecting her chicks. She shouted guiltily, "Rain, kids are just fooling around. Why bother taking it seriously?" I smiled. "Me taking it seriously? Of course I won't take it seriously with him. Letting him die like this would be too easy. What if I told you that the game you destroyed will eventually merge into our world?" I walked over and patted my nephew's shoulder, leaning down to whisper in his ear, "The time will come when the fear of death will be yours to face." My nephew puckered his lips to spit on my face, but I slapped him before he could react. Staggering, he was pushed to the ground and burst into loud, pitiful sobs. This time, my mother didn't dare provoke me. She cursed, "Psycho," before grabbing my nephew and storming off while muttering complaints. Only I stood still, holding those fragments. Gazing up at the sky, dark clouds gathered, with thunder and lightning flashing. In just a few short hours, this place seemed to have transformed into another world. Just a mere brat, I could have easily destroyed him, but I refused to. I want to watch him writhe and struggle in despair as his neck is choked. I want to see him regret in agony, paying the price for his deeds, only to meet his end with unwillingness. Just like those NPCs he casually killed, for, overnight. People were shocked to discover that the water flowing from their faucets wasn't water at all. It was blood, thick, viscous blood. Someone had left a faucet running, and the house's floors were flooded with blood, spilling out into the hallway. In his confused dream, he smelled a strong, pungent scent of blood. When he opened his eyes, a metallic sweetness tingled in his throat. Before he could react, a surge of crimson liquid choked back into his nasal passages. Before this person could comprehend what was happening, they suffocated to death right in their own home. This is the first bizarre case of death caused by the Bloodwater disaster. On TV, the host's voice carried a tension of forced composure. "We have not yet determined the cause of this anomaly. This is an isolated case. Citizens need not panic. Relevant personnel are urgently inspecting the reservoir." His reassurance didn't work, as the internet had already exploded, not just in City A where I live, but across the nation, even globally. Blood-red water emerged even from dry desert wells that had no water sources. Apart from the remaining water in this world, there are no clean water sources left. I answered the phone call from my mother. Her tone carried an unusual note of pleading. "Rain, do you still have clean water at your place?" I glanced at the few barrels of water that had just been delivered days ago and said without changing my expression, "No." "Why?" my mother stammered, "And no, it's just, oh, just tell me straight if you have any or not." Before she could finish, the phone was snatched away by my father. "How many barrels of water do you have left at home? Hurry up and send them to your brother's place," he said in an imperative tone. "Jackson hasn't bathed for days. And you, as his aunt, don't even feel sorry for him. The water I use to sustain my life, he wants me to use it to bathe my nephew. I find it absurd and ridiculous. If he needs water so badly, then his parents should try harder to find some for him. After all, it's not like there's no way. There is indeed a way." Along with the Bloodwater disaster came a sudden influx of water carriers. They walked the streets wearing masks, muttering strange words. "Water, clean water." A bold child stepped forward to ask, only to see them draw knives and slit their own wrists. What flowed out from within was not gushing blood, but clean water. As the news spread, crowds gathered around these eerie water carriers. The water-starved people paid no heed to whether drawing water would harm the carriers' bodies. They even brought their own knives to stab into the water carriers' bodies. All who obtained the water left with smug satisfaction, but not long after. Those who came into contact with the water died at home, some with ruptured intestines, others covered in festering sores. The remaining people felt a survivor's relief, grateful they hadn't harmed themselves by fetching water. Experts worked around the clock to study these eerie water carriers, desperate to extract from their blood the secret to immunity. Before the results come out, even if people know how to fetch water, they wouldn't dare act recklessly. My father sensed my malice and began shouting angrily, "All you know is how to argue back. At this critical moment, family should help each other. Let's see if your brother will lift a finger when you're dying of thirst. Just wait to die at the hands of those water delivery workers. Why do you assume I'll die?" "Father," I found it amusing. "Do you know what else those water delivery workers often say? Praying for rain. This gloomy sky is overcast, yet stubbornly refuses to shed a single drop. I want it to rain even more than those weirdos do." I shook my head. "No, they're not praying for rain. They were calling my in-game name, Rain. 5. Before the water supply ran out, I left home to find those water delivery workers. Hey, listening to you guys keep talking. Are you thirsty for water?" I shook the bucket in my hand, signaling them to come and drink. The masked water carriers paused their steps, tilted their heads to look at me, then hurriedly gathered to drink. Water, clean water. This phrase wasn't about them delivering water. They were just too thirsty and asking passers-by for help. After drinking half the bucket of water, they looked at me somewhat sheepishly. "We've finished all your water. What will you do now?" One person extended their wrist and said anxiously, "We'll give it back to you. We have plenty of water in our bodies. Don't worry. You won't die of thirst." I smiled and asked, "If I drink your blood, will I die?" He shook his head desperately. "And no, those who died were the ones who refused to give us water. You're different. You're a good person. We won't harm you." I still didn't move. "Then if I drink your blood, will you die?" The man puffed out his chest proudly. "No way. We're strong. If it's just a little, we can recover completely." Hearing him say this, I brought all these water delivery workers back home with me. There were so many of them that I poured a full 10 buckets. And even went out to give some to the scavenging elderly nearby. One good turn deserves another. Without giving, one seeks to take from others. Isn't it only natural to face retribution then? How can someone not understand such a simple truth? I stopped by the grocery market on my way. The usual hustle and bustle was gone, with only a few scattered stalls remaining. The lobsters and king crabs that used to fetch high prices were now foaming in dry tanks, cheaper than a wild weed. I bought a lot to take home, and the water delivery workers happily feasted. The room was filled with the aroma of butter as they devoured the food, their eyes sparkling. "Ma'am, you're so kind, such a good person, and your cooking is delicious. It reminds me of someone else." I knew who they were referring to, but didn't respond, just gently ruffled their hair. I also received news from my brother's side. I heard they initially splurged on water, convinced I would come to deliver more. After I refused, they turned to malicious intent. My brother forcibly broke in, violently assaulted the lone male neighbor, and stole his meager remaining water supply. Without water, the young man slowly died at home, with the stench of his corpse lingering daily. He was just an ordinary office worker employed at a nearby factory. In this bustling city, he was a stranger with no relatives or friends. Even if he died violently at home, the news would take a long time to reach distant provinces thousands of miles away. My brother said triumphantly, "Insignificant ends like these are easiest to handle. After this disaster passes, even those seeking revenge won't know what hit them." The picture he posted on his social media was of my nephew taking a bubble bath. He played with the rubber duck in the water, displaying an innocent demeanor completely unaware of worldly affairs. Water obtained at the cost of others' lives was being wasted like this. I lit a stick of incense on behalf of that young man, my naive elder brother. How could you think there was only the disaster of bloody waters? 6. After half a month of gloomy weather, there finally came an exceptionally heavy rainstorm. The rain poured for 7 full days, and the river water became clear again, as if the once thick blood-red waters were just an illusion. Meanwhile, people were astonished to discover that after the heavy rain, the land suddenly teemed with countless frogs. They densely covered every corner, their skin marred by ugly scars, their cheeks puffing rhythmically as they emitted deafening rhythmic cries. Frogs, frogs, frogs everywhere. There were simply too many. Terrified and horrified, the city launched a massive frog extermination campaign. Yet every man who came into contact with the frogs found his belly slowly swelling up like a balloon, as if some life was gestating inside. The second calamity, the plague of frogs, descended in an utterly terrifying form. My brother also joined this bloody campaign, bringing along my nephew. My brother taught my nephew from childhood that true manhood lies in understanding slaughter. They killed so many frogs that their bellies swelled larger than other men's, like carrying multiple fetuses, ready to burst at any moment. My brother was nearly desperate, and my nephew clutched his swollen belly, wailing in terror. My mother was so panicked that she called me for help again, asking me to think of a solution. I scoffed and casually lied. "What can I do? I can barely take care of myself." There were so many frogs that they even crawled into the house through the exterior pipes, leaving sticky mucus everywhere. But those water delivery workers were still staying at my place. When they saw the first frog crawling in, they filled a vat with water on the balcony. It wasn't clear water flowing from the tap, but blood from their slit wrists. They said even though the blood flood had passed, the curse on the water source remained. Ordinary water is useless for these frogs. Only unpolluted water will do. At the sight of this basin of water, dense crowds of frogs leaped into it. My house remained dry and comfortable. I didn't go out. Surviving on the food I had stockpiled during the previous Bloodwater disaster, perhaps my balcony was too clean, making someone notice something unusual. Knock knock knock. Someone knocked on my door. 7. Through the peephole, I saw many men with swollen bellies. I asked calmly, "Can I help you? Please help us. These frogs have ruined us. Ma'am, you can't just stand by and watch us die. Open the door for us." I saw familiar faces, including residents of this building. They were certain I was a defenseless woman living alone, which is why they dared to come looking for trouble. I directly refused them. "Sorry, I can't open the door. There are frogs everywhere outside. It's terrifying." Seeing that I wasn't fooled, they began roughly using tools to bang on my door. "You selfish bastard. You knew the solution for the frogs but kept it hidden from us, didn't you? A weak little bitch like you. Acting all tough here. You probably don't even know there's another solution, do you? We're being merciful by not using that method on you, so don't push your luck. I know what they're talking about. This is the only method recently discovered by accident that can counteract the side effects brought by the frog plague. Only men carry frog eggs, and to resolve this terrifying disaster, they simply need to have sexual intercourse with a woman to transfer the eggs into her womb, making her bear the burden. Many heartless men, to avoid suffering, either force or deceive their wives and mothers into taking on their burden. Some even take to the streets or break into homes to hunt for female victims. That's how my brother made his wife take on his suffering. His belly had shrunk, but his nephew was too young, and there was no solution in sight, which is why he had been so anxious. The man outside the door was cursing while taking action. I watched quietly through the peephole without responding. The NPCs behind me were clearly angered by the group's inexplicable provocation. They don't care about their own injuries, but when they see someone trying to harm me, their facial expressions twist with extraordinary fury. A female warrior approaches carrying an ancient giant axe that appeared out of nowhere, about to turn the door handle, but I stop her, shake my head at her, and make a SHHH gesture. "It's all right, sweetheart, just watch." 8. Sure enough, those men collapsed backward as if exhausted after just a few strikes. They seemed unaware of their terrible physical condition, still believing themselves as invincible as they imagined. My stomach hurt so bad. Within seconds, their faces turned pale, dripping with cold sweat, and they began screaming in agony. Everyone was writhing in pain on the ground, their desperate screams and wails nearly shattering the ceiling of the hallway. Only then did I open the door with a smile. "Don't you understand basic scientific knowledge? Don't you know pregnant women shouldn't engage in strenuous exercise?" The men on the ground were completely exhausted, yet still stubbornly struggling. "What nonsense are you spouting, you witch, you devil? How could a man possibly get pregnant? Damn you and your pregnant women." I watched the large pools of blood spreading beneath their trousers, shook my head, and said regretfully, "Originally, if you had just stayed quietly at home, nothing would have happened. Even if you killed the frogs, as long as you expelled the frog eggs, you would have been fine. The so-called curse-like suffering you're enduring is merely the inevitable path every pregnant woman must take, yet you're all so impatient, rushing around trying to solve it immediately. Well, this is it. The baby is going to be miscarried, but there are no doctors here. No one will help resolve your accident, even if there were doctors. If they asked me to choose between saving the mother or the baby, I would definitely say, in their eyes that still held a glimmer of hope, I cruelly delivered the final verdict. Screw you bastards." Those people heard my words, their eyes bulging with rage, yet powerless to stand and fight back. Suddenly, the man writhing in pain on the ground stopped moving. He saw the water delivery workers at my doorstep. Both men and women had identical faces. Staring fixedly at the group of people on the ground, they pointed at me and screamed in terror. It's those monsters with water for blood. So you're the mastermind behind all this. You're in league with them. You're the one who brought the calamity foretold in the scriptures into this world. You deserve to die." I lowered my head, watching their death throes with great interest. "Do you really think it's my fault? Without your desires, how could sin ever take root?" I watched as they took their last breath before me and let out a light chuckle. "Don't worry, this is just the beginning of my revenge." 9. The men who came looking for trouble could recognize this as the calamity foretold in the scriptures, so naturally others noticed it too. Netizens have sparked large-scale discussions about these two sudden disasters. The first disaster was the plague of blood. The second was the plague of frogs. Haven't you heard the story of the 10 plagues of Egypt? It's terrifying, and this is only the beginning. I've heard of the 10 plagues of Egypt, but not from any religious scripture. It was from a very obscure niche game. I know. Is it Apocalypse? The Revelation. That game was so mystical, opening with something like "Please play seriously, because the game world will merge with reality in 8 years." I remember this game too. It's about surviving 10 plagues with a group of indigenous people and then rebuilding their homeland, but it was so long that I never made it to the later parts. Why bring up games when the discussion is about disasters? LOL. Do you actually believe game worlds could merge with reality? Because the scripture's prophecies didn't mention those water carriers from the blood water plague. Don't you think their appearances are strange? They all look exactly the same, like NPCs in a game. By sheer coincidence, they stumbled close to the truth. However, this discussion did not attract much attention. After confirming that it might be the 10 plagues of Egypt descending, all departments began preparing preventive measures for the upcoming disasters. While they were taking action, I was at home repairing the game console. Ever since I picked it up, I haven't stopped working on the repairs. The game console was smashed to pieces, but fortunately all the core components were intact. The reason I picked up the game console again was because I knew the root source of the disaster lay within it. As long as I load the save file and turn off the disaster, I can prevent the subsequent events from happening. But just as I finally fixed the console and was about to re-enter the world, I felt a heavy shadow cast behind me. I realized all those NPCs were silently staring at me from behind, their expressions carrying a subtlety unlike any ordinary day. It suddenly dawned on me that they didn't realize it was my nephew who had carried out that massacre against them. In their memory, it must have been me who betrayed them. 10. Someone even raised a giant axe, trembling as they approached. I silently took a step back, contemplating how to explain the situation. They got ahead of me, making indistinct sounds in their throats. "Rain, are you Rain?" Their faces looking at me were all identical, creating an oppressive terror. I remained silent under this pressure for a long time before finally admitting it outright. "It's me, but I didn't do the things that hurt you." I was prepared for them not to believe me and to retaliate against me, but those dark, shining eyes looking at me showed no trace of hatred or similar emotions. On the contrary, they gradually filled with tears. "Thank goodness, you're okay." Unexpectedly, they rushed over and hugged me tightly, one embrace after another, warmth radiating from where our skin touched. "So comforting. We knew you wouldn't do such a thing, so we were terrified, not knowing who was threatening you. I came to this world, just to make sure you're safe." The female warrior who raised the giant axe swung the massive weapon again, looking at me with her wet, gleaming black eyes. If anyone bullies you, use this to chop them down." So they raised their weapons not against me, but against my enemies. A bittersweet ripple stirred in my heart. "You don't suspect me at all. Aren't you afraid I might have really betrayed you?" They shook their heads vigorously, speaking in perfect unison for the first time. "We've been close friends for so many years. How could you ever treat us badly?" Friend, this word gently plucked at my heartstrings. In the long, unaccompanied years, they were my only solace and refuge. They tilted their heads and looked at me. "Rain, do you want to re-enter the game to prevent the disaster from coming? Even if this world has many bad people, after all, this is still the place where you live, right?" I logged into the game, loaded the save file, and shook my head. No one knows that as long as the game save exists, I can manually disable disaster permissions to affect reality. But those who deserve punishment haven't met their rightful fate yet, just accelerating the progress of this game to prevent more innocent people from being harmed. 11. The frog plague lasted for 10 days, while women carry a pregnancy for 10 months. This male pregnancy experience was shortened to 10 days, including civil servants who participated in the frog extermination. Many conscientious men were unwilling to harm others. The pain intensified manifold. But after they expelled and eradicated the frog eggs from their bodies, the frogs vanished completely from the streets and alleys. This was entirely a battle where casualties could have been avoided, yet my brother took great pride in this, claiming he was different from those foolish men. They have wives, yet they refused to let them endure this hardship. How utterly stupid. At worst, finding a random streetwalker would be better than enduring it yourself. I sat on the bench in the hospital corridor and said coldly, "You made your wife suffer for you, so she ended up in the ICU." My brother's face darkened, and just as he was about to scold me, my mother tugged at his sleeve. "Stop fighting over an outsider. You siblings, how disgraceful." I scoffed. "An outsider? Isn't she my brother's wife and the mother of my nephew?" They all fell silent again, until my nephew was the first to break the quiet. With innocent loudness in his voice, he asked, "If Mom has to stay in the hospital, who's going to cook dinner tonight?" His words made everyone present change their expressions. Even the passing nurses turned their heads and started whispering among themselves. My brother, having failed to vent his anger on me and then being publicly humiliated by his ill-mannered son, immediately flew into a rage and viciously slapped my nephew, scolding, "What a filial son you are, your mother is sick, and you're still concerned about whether she can cook." My nephew was stunned by the slap and immediately collapsed to the ground, rolling around and wailing loudly, "Grandma's cooking isn't even good, what's wrong with me?" asking, "You all just bully me." As he kept crying, he probably caught sight of me standing by with a cold smile out of the corner of his eye, and stubbornly lunged at me to grab me. In his eyes, Aunt was the least respected person in this family, unloved by father and mother, yet still having to make way for her brother's life, so it's only natural and justified for him to throw a tantrum at me. "It's all Auntie's fault. It's that damn game of yours that made Mom like this." I raised an eyebrow and gave him a hard kick before he could cling to me. 12. Rain, what are you doing? That kick of mine was no joke. My dad, Mom, and brother all rushed over to protect their family jewels. My mom's face twisted like an angry lioness. "Rain, is what the kid said true? I also remember that damn game console of yours. You even went crazy cursing us back then." My brother looked like he wanted to hit me, but he's too concerned about appearances to make a scene in public, so he just hugged his son and started yelling insults at me, his face twisted in disgust. "Rain, I knew you were crazy, but I never imagined you'd be this insane. We should have sent you to a mental institution long ago. Wasn't it normal for you to get bullied at school? Who told you to be such a freak? Obsessing over that bizarre game of yours all day. And now you've even developed some delusional disorder. How dare you lay hands on my son? I'll kill you right now." Seeing so many people backing him up, the nephew began tearfully making his accusations. She even threatened me, saying, "Soon it'll be your turn to face the terror of death. She's the real villain here." They all looked at me, and I innocently spread my hands. You believe the words of a little kid? What I said was just out of anger. Besides, the authorities haven't even announced where these disasters came from. How could I possibly have that kind of power? Some other patients who had been listening finally spoke up, and one sister couldn't hold back anymore. "How can you have the nerve to bully a young girl like this? A brat like that should be properly disciplined. What are you causing a scene in the hospital for?" She pointed at the burly man beside her, then looked at my brother with disdain. "My husband is 100 times better than a loser like you. He went to help the neighbors exterminate frogs but ended up getting pregnant himself. I took care of him for 10 days while he kept complaining about feeling awful, unlike you, who actually made your wife suffer. How shameless." My brother initially wanted to argue back, but the burly man's physique was equivalent to two of him, like a moving mountain of flesh. He backed down, gave the woman a once-over, and snorted coldly, "Of course. My wife isn't as pretty as you, so she wouldn't fetch as high a price." The once delicate-looking burly man immediately straightened up upon hearing this, clenched his fists, and scowled. "What the hell are you spouting, you wretch? Dare to run your mouth one more time." As sparks flew between the two groups, I slipped into the hospital room. My sister-in-law has been transferred out of the ICU, but it's unclear how much of the outside conversation she heard. That once beautiful and full face had become pale and gaunt. "After all this, do you still intend to keep living with him?" The person on the bed trembled their eyelids slightly but didn't open them, as if this could help them escape reality. I leaned closer to her and sighed. "Marriage is for happiness, and so is divorce." Without another word, I left the hospital room, but the moment I turned away, I thought I saw a clear tear fall from those tightly shut eyes. 13. Thanks to prior preventive measures, the subsequent disasters caused significantly milder effects: the third plague of lice, the fourth plague of flies, the fifth plague of livestock pestilence, the sixth plague of boils, the seventh plague of hail, the eighth plague of locusts. One after another, people survived unscathed and breathed a deep sigh of relief. No one knew this was merely the result of me lowering the game's difficulty. My brother no longer pays attention to these harmless disasters. What's been bothering him lately is that his once obedient wife started demanding a divorce after he was discharged from the hospital. He got beaten up for no reason in the hospital, which already made him furious, and this just made him even angrier. But no matter how he threatened or argued, my sister-in-law would rather die than live with him again. They had a heated argument at home and dumped their nephew, the burden, on me to take care of. My mother secretly made a copy of my house key and barged in forcefully. She rummaged through my things with dissatisfaction. "You've made the house a complete mess, yet you say I'm not allowed in. If I don't come in, who's going to clean up for you? Who else has been staying here?" I looked at her coldly. "A friend." She reacted as if hearing the biggest joke. "A friend, Rain? You actually have friends?" My nephew giggled too. "Auntie's lying. Dad said you've always been a weirdo since childhood." Just hiding in your room playing video games alone. How could you possibly have friends? My mother's expression suddenly changed as she scolded, Rain, don't tell me your naive delusions are acting up again, thinking of running off with some random man. I didn't raise you all these years just for you to be taken advantage of by some swine. Her heart ached as she took out all the leftover seafood from the fridge, gritting her teeth in frustration that the food hadn't ended up in her grandson's stomach. Instead of pampering your man with good food and drinks, you might as well spend the money on Jackson. At least our Jackson can support you in your old age someday. Ha, support me in my old age. Will he even live that long? Watching my nephew start eating again as if it were his due, I smiled indifferently. Go ahead and eat. I bought so many hairy crabs and lobsters. There's no way I could finish them all myself. It'd be a waste to just let them sit. My nephew went all out eating, while my mom, thinking she didn't deserve such delicacies, just coaxed him from the side, and all the food ended up in my nephew's stomach. In the middle of the night, my nephew was crying in pain, howling so loudly it woke me up. Between sobs, he yelled, Auntie is trying to kill me, she poisoned the food. Wah. Grandma save me. A pile of dead shrimp and crabs. It'd be a miracle if eating them didn't cause trouble. I maintained a smiling face. How could you say that? Shabo, Auntie is counting on you for her old age. Why would I ever harm you? My mom got so anxious she called my brother over. My brother frantically picked up my nephew, too busy to curse at me, and rushed out the door as soon as he opened it. I blocked the doorway with my arm. He glared at me. Rain, what are you doing? I spoke calmly. Isn't it inappropriate to go to the hospital at this hour? What do you mean inappropriate? Jackson is sick because of you. Are you trying to kill him now? I'll settle this with you later. I still didn't back down, but the disaster is still spreading outside. It's dangerous to go out. Disaster, those half-baked tricks of yours. I think you've gone crazy from playing too many games. My brother pulled my nephew along and gave me a disdainful look. Rain, you can fool yourself. But don't try to fool me. Jackson said you brought that crap from the game into reality, but even so, you can't do anything to me. Do you think those so-called friends who used to live with you can help you? They just came to take advantage of you before the disaster, and now they've all moved out, haven't they? Besides, someone like you doesn't deserve to have friends. He ignored my attempts to stop him and resolutely rushed out the door. After a moment of hesitation, my mother finally turned back and said to me, Rain, you should go with them too. Seeing that I wasn't moving, she anxiously came to pull me. Like you said, what if there's danger? Shouldn't you help your brother a bit? Don't pull me. I can walk by myself. I frowned and avoided her tugging, flashing an innocent smile before she could get angry. Of course, that's my brother. How could I not go check if he might be in trouble? Only then did my mother follow me out the door, satisfied. She didn't notice the smile that never left the corners of my mouth. How could I not witness the death of someone I despise with my own eyes? 14. The ninth calamity was the disaster of darkness, the loss of sunlight. People accustomed to electricity didn't seem to face much trouble even after losing daylight, yet darkness can also bring immense danger. In lightless places, it thickens like a sea capable of silently drowning people. On the way to the hospital by taxi, strange sounds came from many unclear alleys on both sides. Crunch, creak, very loud, as if something was being chewed vigorously. My mother, frightened, hugged my nephew tightly and moved to the middle, making me sit by the window. After finally reaching the hospital, she made me stay behind, terrified that her two precious darlings might suffer any harm. The brightly lit hospital dispelled their paranoid worries. My brother waited for the doctor to examine his son while berating me. My son was only at your place for a short while. How could you let this happen to him? I don't care. You're paying the medical bills and my emotional damages. Got it. My mother stayed silent on the side. Seeing she wouldn't intervene, I scoffed. Are we really keeping score between siblings? I didn't mean for Jackson to end up like this. It was Mom who gave him those vegetables. Little did I expect these words to completely infuriate my brother. He sprang to his feet, pointing at me and yelling, Our family has raised you to this age. How much money have we poured into you? If Mom hadn't accidentally gotten pregnant with you, there wouldn't even be a place for you in this family. All the money you've spent should have been mine. Making you pay back this little isn't even being petty. I haven't even settled all those accounts with you yet. People around us started looking over. My mom tugged at my sleeve, signaling me not to argue with my brother, but I stepped away. Fine, since you love keeping accounts so much, let's settle them one by one. My brother puffed out his chest and said defiantly, You're the one who said it counts. Raising you all these years has cost nearly $1 million, right? I'll consider Jackson's medical expenses as rounding off the debt. Go find $1 million to pay me back. He held out his hand to me. Hand over your bank card. What's the PIN? You can work to pay off the rest you owe me. I blinked. Even if I owe you $1 million, you owe me $10 million. We can't settle it like this. My brother got agitated. Where do I owe you money? Do you know how much Mom and Dad have secretly given me? How could you possibly have $10 million for me to owe? I said calmly. Your son broke my gaming console. The device itself can cover your measly medical expenses, but the account is worth $10 million. By that calculation, you still owe me 9 million. My brother flushed red with humiliation. Your stupid game save is worth 10 million. Who knows more about games, you or me? I shook my head. You just don't get it, do you? This save file really is worth 10 million. Hand over the cash now, and I might consider letting you off. I looked him up and down and clicked my tongue. Too bad you've let yourself go, smoking, drinking, and from what sis-in-law says, fooling around outside. Your organs are probably subpar too, doubt they'd even fetch 1 million if sold. My brother was spoiled rotten since childhood, and hearing me defy him like this almost made him drop dead on the spot. He charged at me with fists flying, while my dazed nephew opened his bleary eyes and screamed excitedly, "Dad, beat her to death." Unfortunately, I easily dodged his attack, and his punch landed on the hospital's white wall, making him squeal in pain like a pig, this time. My mother finally stopped being a cold bystander. She shrieked and rushed to shield my brother. With tears and snot running down her face, she pointed a trembling finger at me. "I raised you all these years, and this is how you treat your own family. How dare you, you ungrateful daughter." I couldn't be bothered with their hypocritical act and asked again. "A 10,000 hour game save file. I spent 8 whole years on it. You could say it's priceless. I'm only asking for 10 million from you, which is actually a steal, so you're really refusing to compensate me." My brother spat in contempt and sneered. "Pay you back for something you can just replay? What's the big deal? You love that damn game so much anyway. You wouldn't mind playing it for another 8 years. I'd rather die than compensate you." I nodded, completely unfazed by his provocation. "Fine, you said it yourself. Don't regret it." What could I possibly regret? He didn't finish his words, stopping halfway in terror, because the next second, I reached out and clapped my hands. Crash, as my applause rang out, the glass of the fluorescent tubes shattered piece by piece from far to near. The entire hospital was instantly plunged into pitch-black darkness. 15. In an instant, the entire corridor descended into chaos. "What's going on? What happened? Quick, turn on your phone screen. This darkness is terrifying me." My brother yelled at me. "Rain, what did you do? Why did the lights go out the moment you clapped your hands?" I replied with a smile. "Nothing at all. You wouldn't seriously think it's such a coincidence that the lights went out when I clapped, would you? In your words, I'm just a useless otaku who loves playing games. Since you don't believe games can become reality, what does this have to do with me?" My brother wanted to keep scolding me, but his voice was drowned out by the panicked crowd. The darkness disaster already arrived long ago, but it never affected power supply before. Could this be a new catastrophe descending upon us? Wait, something's not right. Did you all hear that sound? The noisy chatter of the crowd stopped as everyone held their breath to listen. An eerie silence fell, broken only by the discordant wails of my nephew Jackson echoing through the air. Our family drama had already drawn a crowd, and now people started making snide remarks. "Whose child has such bad manners? Crying and crying, you'll cry all the luck away. Can you stop making such a racket? There really is something moving over by the stairs." My mother was displeased. "Why pick on a child? Jackson, come here to Grandma." Her words went unanswered as the child's crying suddenly stopped, or rather, another sound answered her instead. Clickety-clack, creak-creak. The furtive sounds we heard while passing the dark alley re-emerged in this confined space, amplified infinitely by the surrounding silence. Someone gulped, their voice trembling. What the hell is making that noise over there? Where are your phones? Turn on the screens." Someone's voice had already cracked. "No, have you tried it yourself? Pressing it doesn't light up. Not a single glimmer. Can't see anything. What the hell is over there?" Everyone turned to flee, stumbling blindly in the dark chaos, while I stood quietly in place, watching them trip and tumble over each other in their scramble. Honestly, they should be grateful they can't see right now. If they could see what I see, they'd probably be too terrified to even think about running. Frozen in sheer horror, those eerie NPCs had somehow appeared right beside my nephew without warning. They gripped his cheeks and yanked out the noisy tongue between them. Their hands melted into dark, viscous liquid, and that crimson thing instantly detached. Click, clack, crunch, crackle, it tumbled in the palm, where skin contact should have been gentle, yet produced eerie sounds of sharp teeth gnashing. Before death, my nephew gained the same ability as me to see in the darkness. He saw the faces of those NPCs and realized they were identical to the ubiquitous background characters from the game he had destroyed, recoiling in terror. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Regret it. You can casually hurt them, and they can just as easily hurt you back." My nephew crawled toward me as if seeing a savior, frantically signaling for me to help him. Tears mixed with snot streamed down his plump cheeks, making it impossible for anyone to feel even a shred of sympathy. I shook my head and sighed, repenting now. It's far too late. From the moment you didn't care about destroying my hard work, even felt at ease enjoying everything gained by occupying my resources. You were destined to pay the price for it, understand? My nephew panicked, crying uncontrollably, yet couldn't make a single sound. Seeing that I couldn't be relied on, he could only desperately crawl towards his father and grandmother. I silently watched as my nephew reached for his father's pant leg. The door was violently kicked open, and the back of his head hit the wall, completely silencing him. 16. The eerie sound vanished, and my brother, unaware of what had happened, excitedly clenched his fist and shouted, "I'm so badass, that filthy thing tried to touch me, and I kicked it away, damn it, what kind of thing dares to possess me?" But my mother panicked, her intuition telling her this was no good sign. "Where's Jackson, Rain? Have you seen Jackson, Rain? What kind of ghostly act are you pulling here?" Hearing my mom mention my name, my brother belatedly realized, "You're standing right next to him, covering his mouth, aren't you? Don't go scaring people randomly, with so many people here, you're no match." I knew he'd try to frame me, so my voice came from another corner, "Stop talking nonsense, I'm not standing next to him. As for where your son is, I'll kindly tell you the one you just kicked to death was him." My brother froze for a moment, then started cursing wildly. "What nonsense are you spouting? I was clearly kicking a ghost just now, not my son." I shrugged. 75 degrees clockwise. "Why don't you go touch it and see for yourself? Don't be a coward about what you've done." My mother couldn't believe it and suddenly lunged forward, but her hands only met the cold temperature of the small figure. Overwhelmed, she broke down in uncontrollable sobs. "Jackson, my dear grandson, what on earth is happening?" She finally turned back to my brother, hitting him while wailing, "You've sinned, save Jackson quickly." My brother took the motionless child from my mother's hands and froze for a few seconds. Anger, resentment, and malice flickered across his face in a twisted mix. He pulled a blade from his pocket and lunged fiercely toward the direction of my voice. "Let's all kill her together. She's the only one who can see here. It must be her doing. My son didn't die for nothing. Killing her is the only way to break this curse, to be honest." He probably had his guard up the moment I spoke. His ambush was swift and precise. The blade slashed down, splashing warm liquid all over him. My brother casually wiped it away and shouted fervently, "So what if you killed my son? In the end, I still won this game." I sighed and said, "Unfortunately, this isn't some so-called game. It's stark reality. You always said I couldn't tell them apart. But now it's your turn to confuse them." My brother widened his eyes in disbelief. He was certain that the earlier slash had severed my artery, yet I could still speak perfectly fine. His voice was filled with fear and shock as he staggered back several steps. A ghost, run." He grabbed my elderly mother and used her as a human shield, pushing her forward. Already on the verge of collapsing from crying, she fell headfirst from his shove. She finally found the heart to scold this eldest son she doted on, wailing hysterically, "I've birthed a cursed demon come to collect my debt. I deserve to die. I truly deserve to die." She knelt facing my direction and kowtowed several times with loud thuds, banging her forehead until it bled. "Rain, if you have any mercy left, please save Jackson. He's just a child, innocent and guiltless. Have some compassion and let him go." I spoke calmly. "Mom, first of all, I didn't kill anyone. It was your son who kicked your precious grandson to death. Secondly, where was his mercy when he was slaughtering the NPCs in my game account? This is all karma, what he deserves." My mother grew frantic. "How can you compare real people to a game? How can you be so heartless? So what if he killed your NPCs? If Jackson enjoyed killing them for fun, let him play." She didn't notice that after these words, the already cold hospital air grew even chillier, sending shivers down one's spine. I laughed. "He enjoys killing for fun. But does he realize that the executioners of these 10 plagues are the very NPCs he's been slaughtering? Have you forgotten that the 10th plague is called the death of the firstborn?" My mother's eyes widened instantly. She suddenly realized she could see again, only to witness a horrifying scene. She watched helplessly as I jumped down from an NPC's shoulder. The tall NPC knelt before me, bowing to kiss the back of my hand while hoarsely murmuring the pronunciation of Rain. My mother staggered back a few steps, her legs giving way beneath her. "It's you. These monsters obey you. The game you said would become reality. It's all true. The firstborn's calamity, then your brother and father. They must also." Watching her expression of utter regret, I found it amusing. "Of course it's true. The calamity of darkness means eternal days without light, where people gradually descend into despair amidst this chaos until they go mad and perish. Only in their final moments do they gain the ability to see this world clearly one last time. When I encountered this disaster in the game, I died repeatedly, restarting my save file again and again, just to save both myself and the NPCs. Why should the person who destroyed everything so easily obtain the life I fought so hard to preserve?" My mother no longer had time to care about what happened to her nephew. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "If you can only see before death, then Why can I see now? Her words were interrupted as one of the NPCs approached her. I softly uttered the final sentence. Because I show no mercy to those who try to kill me. 17. My brother was covered in NPC blood, and skin ulceration was inevitable. He couldn't run far. Moreover, in this pitch-black darkness without a single ray of light, even if he could leave the hospital, he wouldn't be able to hide for long. He must have heard the conversation between my mother and me just now, which also made him realize he'd made a fatal mistake. The 10 disasters don't necessarily occur in sequential order, they might appear simultaneously. He had been careless, but this also means that as long as we survive this calamity, the disasters will be completely over. Ignoring his injuries, my brother stumbled forward, groping his way through the darkness. I'll get through this, that bitch Rain deserves to die. Once this disaster is over, I'll kill her first. Letting him die like this is so boring. I scoffed at his cowardly, pent-up frustration. How's the gift for him coming along? The NPC beside me tilted its head. Rain's words. We will remember, and do well. In the darkness, the sound of chewing was everywhere. My brother thought he was hiding well, but he hasn't been discovered yet. He thought everyone would avoid it like he did. But he didn't expect to be cornered by a group of people at the alley entrance. We can't let this person die so easily. We must make him wish he were dead. The words they were shouting were exactly what I had in mind. These armed people were the family members of the boy who died because my brother stole water supplies, people he had long forgotten in some corner of his memory. After I sent the evidence to the other party, they were devastated and rushed over overnight, determined to make my brother pay with his life. It was you who stole my child's water source. Don't even think about living peacefully. Every day I greet the NPCs inside, and for those without names, I've given them code names. =, he kept wailing. Isn't all this Rain's doing? How can you guys see anything clearly? This isn't fair. He didn't know that. Apart from gaining the ability to see before death, those who had committed no evil during the previous disasters could also see in this darkness. It was his own wicked deeds that pushed him completely onto the path of no return. As my brother lay dying, I approached him and asked, "Do you regret it?" Hearing my voice, my brother clung to me desperately as if I were his lifeline. Rain, make them stop right now. They're committing murder. I won't hold Jackson's matter against you anymore. Just save me. He was frantic, but I remained completely calm, saying slowly, "How about trading it for 10 million now?" Willing to make the deal, at this life or death moment. My brother couldn't afford to hesitate anymore. He blurted out desperately, trying to move me. Deal, deal, deal. The old folks' savings books and property deeds are all in my room's wardrobe drawer, and I know the bank card pin too. It's XXXXXX. That's more than enough for 10 million, originally meant for me. I'll give it all to you now. Just save your brother. The areas where he was splattered by the NPC's blood began to fester and ooze pus, making his beating even more unbearable. Seeing that I made no move to stop it, he panicked completely. Rain, I've given you everything. Don't break your promise, or may lightning strike you down and you die a horrible death. Don't worry, the lightning would strike you first. I noted down the password and smiled. Before, I told you to change it, but you refused even if it killed you. Now that the opportunity's gone, it's gone. You made your own choice. Who can you blame? I watched helplessly as he flew into a rage, only to weakly spit out his last mouthful of blood before going completely still. The family spat one last mouthful of contempt. Curse serves you right, through gritted teeth, then left supporting the victim's portrait. Eventually an NPC cleaned up the scene, approaching to dissolve him completely into nothingness with viscous fluid. After finishing the chewing, it complained to me pitifully, "Taste bad, next time, throw away." I reached out to ruffle his hair, watching as the darkness finally dissipated. Sunlight breaking through the clouds illuminates the ravaged land as if giving it new life. Don't worry, there won't be a next time. I pulled out the game console from my pocket and gave it a shake. Now, let's begin the restoration work for post-disaster reconstruction. The end.